Hi and welcome back to Yoga with Tim. I made this video specifically per request for one of our friends, Scott in Australia. Scott is a big fan of the channel and he's gotten lots of his surfer friends into doing Yoga with Tim, so Scott, we really appreciate you. And I always appreciate you guys when you give me some feedback, videos that you like to see. So Scott is an avid surfer and he asked for more Yoga for Surfer videos, which that's okay with me. I do lots of surfing and I love doing yoga practice that is beneficial for surfers. So let's get right to it. Let's get started in child's pose. So I'm gonna run you through a practice that I actually do when I'm surfing a lot. And I just got back from a little trip in Mexico where I was surfing a ton. I'm just gonna take you through that basic practice. So I have my arms at my side. I let my forehead rest. So we're just taking a few moments here. When you're on the board in that prone position, the lower back, the pelvis is pressing into the board, so the lower back starts to contract over time, especially with how much we're having to lift up and look over the waves, etc. So this is a great way to just start to open up your lower back and your hips in this child's pose position. Then from here, come up onto your hands and your knees. And we're gonna do just a little bit of warming up so that it feels like our muscles will move better when we try to do the poses. So we're gonna try to get the backs of the shoulders to kind of like mobilize a little bit better because they get really sticky from just only doing this motion. So the first thing that we're gonna do is lift the left knee up off the mat and bring your right arm up like so, this 90-degree angle. And as you inhale, stretch the leg back and the arm forward, but keep your belly engaged, your navel plugged up. And then slowly rebend. Inhale, reach back out. Exhale, rebend. Inhale, reach out. Exhale, rebend. Change sides. Then release that, lie down onto your belly. And this next exercise I've found really helpful to keep my shoulders healthy when I'm paddling a lot. So let's put the right hand on the lower back, put your left hand behind your head. So as you inhale, lift your elbows away from the floor and lower your elbows back down. And we're gonna do that just like we're lubricating the shoulder joint. We'll go up and down 8 times. So try not to borrow from your spine by pulling to the side. Let the spine be long right through the midline. Then hold both elbows up and pretend like you're trying to pull the elbows away from each other in opposite directions. Then lift up little pulses. And release. Change sides. Left hand on your lower back, right hand behind your head. Lift and lower 8 times. Then hold your elbows up. Reach them away from the midline. And then do little pulses. And release that. Stretch your arms back, lift your heart. Place your hands next to your side ribs, press up onto your hands and your knees, and then we'll stretch into downward dog. So with your knees bent, press into your hands just to get your arm muscles start to turn on. Try to keep your chest open as much as you can. And inhale into plank. Exhale into dog. Inhale into plank. Exhale into dog. Inhale into plank. Exhale into dog. Walk your feet forward to the front of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips and come up to stand. All right, so the next pose we're gonna do is tree, which I find really helpful for my hips. So slide your heel up to your inner thigh. If it won't go that high, you can just slide it right below your knee. Stretch from your inner leg towards your knee, and then raise your arms up overhead. Bring your arms back down and change sides. Bring your arms back down and lower your leg down. Now I'm going to recommend the use of some props, a couple of blocks, especially if your hips and your hamstrings are tight. This is going to help with your form. So take your legs wide apart, and we're going to start with side angle pose. Turn your left leg in a little, turn your right leg all the way out. Then as you press into your left foot, bend your right knee, tip from your pelvis out over your leg and put your hand down onto the block. Or if you collapse your chest, you can come up higher and just put your forearm on your thigh. And I'd recommend this for beginners. Take your left arm all the way over. Now focus on your breath. Imagine that you're breathing all the way down into the bottom of your lungs. And feel that you can take full, deep, even breaths. Then come back up, and with your right leg straight, tip from your pelvis out over your leg, put your hand onto your block, and take your left arm up. Now you can come up onto fingertips if you need to, because you don't want the right side of your chest to collapse. Keep lifting that up. And this is going to ensure that your spinal muscles get healthy. So we want them to be long and strong. Visualize your spine elongating, all those stiff muscles that are stuck and twisted and jammed. Feel those starting to lengthen out. Feel your chest opening. Press into your feet and come back up, and turn your legs to the other side. So the back foot's angled in a little, bend your left leg, bring the forearm to the thigh or the hand onto the block, and take your top arm all the way over. Inhale, come back up. And with your leg straight, turn the thigh all the way out so that your knee is pointing in the same direction as your second, third toe. Tip from your pelvis out over your thigh and put your fingertips onto the block. You could also use a small chair or something instead if it feels too low, like if you feel like you're hunching over. And it's good to practice in front of a mirror so you can see if what you think is going on is actually happening, because we don't want to hold the pose in a collapsed position. We want to feel that the spinal muscles can start to get longer and stronger. That's where the difference between a yoga practice that is making you healthier and yoga practice that just creates more tension. Then press through your feet and come back up. Parallel your feet, and with your hands on your hips, fold forward, bring your fingertips down and start to make a flat back. Now, if it's difficult to make a flat back on your hands, then you can put the block underneath your hands. And then we're going to do a side lunge. So bend your right knee, lunge over to the side, but keep reaching your heart forward. And feel the stretch from your left inner leg towards your foot. Then change sides. Come back to center, fold forward, and point your fingers back as you let your head drop. One more stretch here. Inhale up onto your fingertips, And walk your hands over towards your right ankle. Walk your hands over to your left ankle. Come back to center. Bend your knees and come up to stand. Okay, now, because of all the strengthening that we do for our internal rotators, it's going to be really important that we turn on the external rotators. So I'm going to recommend a strap behind your back. You take your hands shoulder distance apart, holding the strap with your thumbs turned out, pull out on the strap and rotate your arms. Now as you rotate the shoulders and open them up, since we're really strong at pushing into the board from this part of our body, then your middle is going to want to try to push forward, but instead I want you to soften it back as you start to open up the front of your shoulders. Then with a little bend in your knees, see if you can start to tip forward without your back rounding. So let's see if all those standing poses, if you're really able to work on the long spine feeling. Stretch your heart forward, roll the shoulders, reach your knuckles back towards the wall behind you, and then come back up. Nice job. Okay, next we're going to go over to the wall, and we'll do a few stretches for our ankles to keep our feet moving healthy. So I take my foot up against the wall, my other foot back about 3.5 feet, back foot's angled in more than 45 degrees, maybe like 65, 80 degrees. And then from here, I'm just going to start to lean towards the wall. Then slowly start to bend your right knee, the foot that's against the wall, as you keep the stretch to your back leg. Then from here, start to lift from the front of your pelvis and see if you can upright your torso, and then stretch your arms up. So these supported stretches at the wall can be really nice for the tension in your shoulders and your lats. And then I also like, instead of sticking my chin forward, to do the counter stretch from my neck, I think of pulling up from the back of my skull because of all the time we spend sticking the chin forward to see where the waves are coming. While we're paddling, chin's always forward and there's tends to be a hinge in the neck. All right, slowly release that and change sides. Now just a reminder, this practice is not to be done before you surf. This is meant to be done like after you surf or in the evening or something to get you ready for the next day. Before you surf, you want more of a dynamic warm-up because if you go stretching your muscles, then they want to stay relaxed. So we don't really stretch right before. You can do a more dynamic warm-up though, that's fine. Slowly start to bend your knee. And then see if you can start to upright yourself. Take your arms up. And release that. All right. Then come back to your mat. And with your right foot forward, left knee down, inhale your left arm up, twist and hook your elbow to your knee. So introduce a little twisting, rotation for the thoracic spine. This is really important to introduce twisting for here to help those muscles to stay more supple, because they start to get really rigid from all the time we spend in that back bended position paddling. Bring your hands back down and change legs. Hook your right elbow to your knee and join your palms. Then bring your hands down and change legs. Okay, now let's do a little stretch for our quadriceps and our hip flexor. So I'm gonna suggest that we go back to the wall. Back to the wall. And then for this one, I'll take my right leg, my knee as close to the wall as possible, the foot up the wall, and then bring my left foot forward. Oh. Now, if your quads and your hips are super tight, you might feel this like really intense. Just hold here, hunker down, let your butt start to release down towards the back of your knee, out of your lower back. If you're not feeling much stretch and you want to make it a little more intense, then come up onto your fingertips, or you can even put the block underneath your hand to go deeper into the stretch. But I have a feeling if you're a pretty diehard surfer, you're not like a layered type who's doing all kinds of other cross-training stuff. Then you might feel really tight just in this one. Okay, slowly release that and change sides. So take that other knee as close to the wall as you can. Now, another thing that you can do is it's less intense if you don't take the knee super close to the wall. So you can take it a few inches away and then work your way closer. And then slowly release that. And to bring the foot down, I just swivel it over to the side and then release. Okay, next we're gonna do a little bit of seated work to work on opening up our hips. So sit with your legs wide apart, and when we practice our seat, we wanna feel that the spinal muscles can elongate. So if when you're sitting like this, your butt's tucked under, which most of my surfer friends, when they come to yoga, they look like that. Then I put them on a block. I even have them bend their knees until this part of the hip can release down and the spine can be upright. So you can figure out exactly how much height you need and how much knee bend you need. I practice this a lot, so I can sit flat. And I think if you start practicing it regularly, like 5 days a week or something before bed or whatever, that it'll start to get better for you too. Then hook your left knee, bring the heel towards your pubic bone, and turn to face your right leg. Remember, it can be as bent as you need it to be. Sit up as tall as you can. Work on your spinal muscles extending. And then as best you can, feel the thigh bones release down. Release that, and we'll change sides. So now the right leg comes into Baddha Konasana. Turn to face your left leg. Sit up as tall as you can while the thighs drop down. Release that. And now cross your legs right at the middle of the shins And as you soften your navel back towards your spine, start to walk your hands forward. So phase one, you might just be right here, working on dropping the knees down. If your knees are releasing down well, you might be able to walk further forward. But you want to just go to the place where you feel the barrier, like the sensation of stretch, and you don't want to try to jam past that. Just be at the barrier and breathe. So you might have the tendency, like if you really push yourself surfing, that you want to like try to push in the stretching as well, but that doesn't work. When you're trying to release tension, if you're pushing, all it does is cue your nervous system to create more tension. So the stretching won't ever go anywhere. So just go to the place where you feel the sensation. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 5. Be there and breathe. Then inhale, come back up. Change the cross of your legs. Inhale, come back up. Stretch your legs out, and then see if you can tip and stretch towards your feet. Remember, you can bend your knees to help your, well, I never told you that, but we bend the knees in the other one. But if you bend your knees, it'll help your pelvis to tip. If your hamstrings are really tight, remember when I never told you before? And then come back up. Cool, now we're getting to probably my favorite part here in the series, where we do a little twisting and then thoracic extension. I think you're gonna like it too. Let's see. So I'm gonna recommend that you have blocks or something like a block to kind of limit the amount that you twist, so that you twist less from your lumbar and more from your, get more opening from your chest and your thoracic. So cross your right ankle over your left knee, and then slowly take your legs over to the left, but roll your right shoulder open like someone's sitting on your right shoulder. And then you can kind of prop this foot without the right shoulder closing. You can do, I'm using a block, but you can put whatever you got around you. So keep rolling the right chest open, descending that right shoulder. Come back to center, change sides, and slowly let the legs fall over. And come back to center. All right, for this next one is not for people who have lower back pain. If you have lower back pain, you're just gonna lie like this, Baddha Konasana with the arms open at the side. Otherwise, we can introduce a little thoracic extension. You can either roll with a foam roller on your upper back, if you have that. Do more of you guys have a foam roller, or do you have blocks? I don't know what you got. You can do it over a foam roller with like a pillow underneath your head, or you can use a block with a pillow under your head. You can just jam some junk underneath your back. So I'll show you how it looks with 2 blocks, but you can kind of figure it out at home, what works best for you. Now notice I have this first block right at the bottom of my blades. The next block is for my head. And then I just take Baddha Konasana. And then it's a little high, I think, to get the right amount of, oh, that feels better. Okay, now you can let your arms just hang freestyle, like so. You might feel like, oh, I feel like I get such good chest opening that way. Or you might want to take your elbows and stretch your elbows over. Oh, so good that way too. If you're doing the elbow one, change the clasp of the elbows. Soften your groins. Let your shoulder muscles relax, your neck relax. Just let your body melt into the stretch now. And then bring your arms back up. Bring your legs together. Roll over to your side. And press yourself up. All right, so thanks so much for joining me. Namaste. I hope that you feel better after having done this practice, like your body feels more supple, feels open. If you enjoyed the practice, share it with a friend. You can click the little link button below somewhere right there and link it and share it with your friends that surf. I found that on a surf trip, if I'm stretching and a couple of my buddies are, we're able to out-surf the guys that aren't stretching on the trip. So it's good motivation to keep you going. So share it, and if you enjoyed it, did I already say this, hit the like button. Leave a comment below if you have any questions about specific stuff. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you and have a great day.